It's orientation day. Today I have my orientation for my program that's going to be starting in the fall. So for those of you who don't know, I'm going to be starting the journey towards becoming a registered pharmacy technician in Canada. And in Canada, there's quite a few steps. Here in Canada, you actually do have to do a 2-year diploma program, and then you write the exams. There's actually 2. One is like a written exam, and then the second is like a practicum type of thing where they give you different scenarios that you have to pass, basically. And then, because I am in Saskatchewan and pharmacy technicians are a regulated healthcare professional, there's a 3rd exam that I also have to write called a jurisprudence exam. So this is kind of on the legislation and all of that, so you're aware of all the legislation that goes involved into basically being a practicing professional in the province. As part of this, I have to start with the diploma program. So for those of you who are unaware, this isn't my first time doing post-secondary education. I have a degree in biochemistry from the University of Saskatchewan. I'm feeling a lot of emotions this morning, actually. I've felt it for the last couple of days, and, well, actually, for quite a while, but it's been a lot stronger for the last week and a half. I thought that I would share this journey more for myself than for the internet, but to be able to look back on when it's all said and done, or when I'm studying for those exams and understand this is the reason why I'm doing this. I probably could have actually went in and become a pharmacist to begin with. However, to be quite honest, the reason why I don't go back into becoming a pharmacist is because I like the technical aspect of pharmacy, and I'm not into as much of the clinical aspect of pharmacy, which is what the pharmacists tend to focus on. So I like doing the counting of the pills and all of that kind of thing as an assistant, and so I felt that this is the best option. And I don't know how my first year of classes would be with competitiveness with the pharmacy program. I did slightly better than average in my first year, and actually would probably require a 2nd year of pre-pharmacy to actually apply. And I don't have any interest in going back to university. I want to do this because it's only 2 years, and then, well, it'll be probably about 2.5, 3 by the time I'm done and everything else that goes involved at the end. But it's going to open a lot of doors that I don't know whether I would enjoy or not, but I'm hoping to keep my possibilities open with this. So if you were to ask me right now what I'd want to do becoming a registered pharmacy technician, it would be pretty much exactly what I'm doing right now, just having more responsibility with it. So being in retail, being in a small pharmacy, being in a community pharmacy where you're directly involved with helping patients get access to the medications that they've been prescribed by their doctors, and, helping with devices and all of that. I haven't done much of the devices being an assistant because I don't have the training and I feel like I'm not confident with it. That is one part of being a technician that would be different. Another is being able to check prescriptions. As pharmacy technicians, you can actually do the technical check, but the pharmacist still has to do the clinical check. So they make sure that the medication is right for the patients, check any drug interactions, those kind of things. And then the next step is checking the technical aspect, which is usually the part of, is this the right drug? Is it the right quantity of medication? Kind of that kind of stuff. Obviously, I don't know everything because everything that I understand about what technicians do comes from my job, which I've been doing now for nearly 2 years. So a lot of it has seeped into my conscious, and I've been paying a bit more attention to it now that I've gotten into school. I do want to take this video to just talk a little bit about the sensations I've been experiencing. I tell you, before, I probably wouldn't have slept last night, before all this awakening stuff. I've got so much energy flow. I don't know, it's probably some nerves, some excitement, definitely, about this being kind of the start of that next chapter. It doesn't really get started until the fall, end of August, but it's a big step having this today. and it's kind of my first opportunity to meet some of the faculty and all of that. It's kind of the start of the turning of the page for the next chapter. I'm going to actually pop back to a couple days ago now and share how this was kind of building. So jump to that now. Hey, good morning everyone. Excuse how I look. I haven't quite finished getting ready for the day yet. Actually, I haven't even started. But anyways, I wanted to come on here quickly and just talk about these sensations that I'm having because they're really interesting. So I've been having them for about a week now, and my mind is trying to say it was your neurologist appointment. It is this orientation that's coming up. And I mean, it could have been and it could be. However, it's just really interesting to sit with those sensations, just let them be, and kind of just let them sit there. It's amazing how even though the reality of the story doesn't change, the strength and power and how the sensations feel throughout the day does change quite a bit. And how, like, I know when I let them arise, which is what I do during my meditation now, my meditation is quite different than what it used to be. And so when I let these sensations just be, they often do dissolve. I don't know, maybe it just doesn't seem as strong because I'm not really putting all of my focus in them, but they're definitely still there. So that's kind of really interesting to watch. This is kind of the first big thing that's coming up with school related. Everything up to this point has been like communication via letter, all of that with my school. I don't think it's going to feel very real until I'm actually like engaged with the orientation, basically. So that's what I wanted to say. I just wanted to come on here quickly and talk about these feelings and sensations, just as not only mark them down for myself, but to just talk a little bit about that, because we all have things that come up in our stories or our lives that trigger different emotions and all of that. This little guy's is like tapping me on the shoulder going, "You're not paying attention to me enough." All right, everyone, so welcome back. The next thing I want to do is, because this orientation involves only about 20 minutes for me to eat later, I want to prepare my lunch now, and I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to do one of the things that I talked about in my last video, which is kind of share, when it comes to gluten-free, where there's potential cross-contamination that might occur. Although this is really simple, it's going to highlight some of the things that I want to emphasize. So I'm going to make a sandwich for myself. Let's do this thing. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about here is what you use to prep with. Now, when I make a sandwich, I never do it directly on the counter. I always either use a plate or cutting board or something, usually a small like lunch plate like this size. And this is because crumbs literally get everywhere, and our kitchen is not 100% gluten-free. We've got 2 people in this kitchen that eat gluten, so I always use a plate. It just makes me feel a little bit better that there's going to be no crumbs on the actual plate. And then the next thing that I need to grab out of the fridge is butter. So this is one area of cross-contamination that people do not even think about. And this is actually something that I didn't think about either right away. But the way we work this in this household is we share one container, but for the people who use regular bread, we scoop it into a second container so that their stuff doesn't contaminate mine. So we use the original container for mine because we go through a little bit more butter in the cases of making things like mashed potatoes or that kind of stuff. Now, I don't actually tend to eat a lot of sandwiches because I was stuck eating a lot of sandwiches when I was in school. So I don't eat a ton of sandwiches. I actually am, one of the ways that I control my weight actually is I tend to have enough for 2 meals at dinner or supper, as we call it here. And then what I do is I split it in half and then have leftovers. When it comes to most of the time, I'm eating leftovers. Last night, I don't have any leftovers from last night, so this is why I'm making a sandwich, because honestly, leftovers are quick. Like usually, so I get an hour for lunch usually at work, and most of the time I'm done eating 20-25 minutes after that, so I get about 35-40 minutes to relax at home. So margarine, big area of cross-contamination. Along with that, the same things apply to things like spreads and stuff. Now, I don't eat hardly any toast. It's not a huge thing that I like. Like for breakfast, I have granola bar and usually a yogurt or something now, but for a while, sometimes it's just a granola bar. It depends on how I'm feeling and how hungry I am, basically. The next thing I want to talk about is bread. So obviously, I mean, this is going to be obvious. You're going to want gluten-free bread. Now, I've actually brought out both of the types that I have in the freezer right now. So got this Promise brand, and then I've got this other brand, Little Northern Bakehouse is that brand. I actually bought this bread the other day when I was at work. I knew I needed some bread, and then my mom actually was at the store too and bought some of these other bread. So I've got quite a bit of bread. Now, I tend to go with a whole grain kind of has seeds in it, just because I find that white gluten-free bread is like cardboard. It has no texture, no taste, no nothing. It's like horrible. I won't even use it on like if I make myself grilled cheese or something. The other reason why I really like these particular brands, now Promise is really good. I find that they've got a little bit of extra crumbs, so you kind of do have to be careful with that. Your sandwich or burgers or all of that can sometimes fall apart, but they have a pretty good taste. This other brand, I like it too. It tastes okay. It's not, I mean, it's hard finding really good gluten-free bread. The one that I found that was the best, I can no longer find anywhere, and it was a Dempster's gluten-free bread. Oh, it was so good. The only thing I didn't like about that, though, is the size of the slices. You almost needed to have 2 sandwiches because the slices were so small. So that's another reason why I like these 2 brands. It's a full-size sandwich, maybe even a little bit more than that, so you can get away with only having 1. Here's another thing you gotta watch. Deli meat and any other types of meat have to be labeled gluten-free. My favorite is the Maple Leaf brand. I keep my gluten-free bread in the freezer. You'll find pretty much every store does this too. It increases the length of that it'll be good, and because I don't go through a lot of it, it just works out better. I actually just put a couple slices in the microwave. So if you're using a microwave, again, gonna want to have it on a plate. So I just use the plate that I'm using, because that is a huge source of cross-contamination. And some people may actually not want to share a microwave. It just depends. Things like dressings, this is another area that you have to be really careful about. I find that Kraft is okay. Now, in Canada, they do have to label the most common allergens. So if you ever use any type of sauce or anything and you're cooking for someone who's gluten-free, if they ask, please let them read the ingredients list on the sauces or dressings that you have, because we know often what to look for. The labels are getting a little bit better for talking about allergies. So in this particular dressing, it says contains eggs and milk. So they do usually have to label them, but it's always a good idea to double check. At least I find it's always a good idea to double check. And I've never had a problem with Kraft ranch dressing, and there are times I don't eat it for quite a while. As for making a sandwich, those are all the potential areas, and it's a lot, isn't it? That's just a simple sandwich, and like I said, so I would normally like put like lettuce and tomatoes and stuff because I like a pretty loaded sandwich, but unfortunately I'm out. So anyways, that's kind of it for lunch, I guess. So I hope that you guys found that quite helpful. It actually covered quite a few of the hidden areas that I most commonly counter with my food anyways, but you know, I hope that gives you a good idea of some of the potential areas. Some of the other things that people talk about are shared pots and pans. I only feel this way actually if you have to wash dishes by hand. We have a dishwasher here, so I'm not as concerned about sharing plates and cutlery and all of that because things do get thoroughly washed in the dishwasher to the point where I'm satisfied. But if you are living in a place that you don't have a dishwasher, I have in the past, yeah, try and keep your dishes separate cuz that could potentially be a problem. I don't feel like as long as you're washing things thoroughly that it would be, but it's a potential area of concern for sure. That's lunch anyways. I'm hoping to check in a few times throughout the day today and hoping to do a little bit of a recap at the end of this video about how this goes. So hope to see you guys in a little bit. All right, hello everyone. It is now a little after 3, almost 3:30 I guess. The orientation just ended, and that was insane. It was a lot of information, like, even for me coming into this with a bit of experience, with understanding some of the terminology, I guess, and knowing what they're talking about already before it even being a thing that I'm constantly doing all the time. It was still a lot of information. It's made a little bit more complicated by the fact that it's actually online. I'm gonna need to grab some equipment. I'm gonna need to probably check out some YouTube videos on how to deal with multiple screens and all of that. I'm also going to need to try and figure out the best setup to have for this whole thing. My brain is sort of done for the day, honestly. And yeah, that was great though. That was really, really, really helpful, and I'm glad that they gave us so much advanced notice of the things that we need to have prepared. So that's great. Yeah, the next thing is gonna be like looking up good PC laptops and how to get a second monitor and all of that. So it's gonna be a lot of tech stuff. Probably spend some time today, maybe even looking that up. I got YouTube as a resource, so I'm figuring out how best to set that up. So thankful I'm good with technology. That's the best part probably, is that I'm pretty confident with technology. I don't really think I have anything else that I really want to add to this video. If you guys are interested in joining me at all during this journey and seeing what all is involved with this and what I'll be learning. So I won't be recording any time that I'm in school because I need to be focused on that, and I'm not allowed to without permission. So I won't be doing any recording during those periods. However, when I'm studying or doing extra stuff, I'll probably be talking about kind of what I'm learning about and all of that. Based upon the information that I've learned and the feedback given during this, I really honestly believe this is a really, really good program. It looks like it's kind of meant to be a little harder, but, you know, they set you up to be successful, which is what matters. I'd rather have the learning curves and mistakes happen when I'm in training or in school than after. I don't really think I have anything else I want to add, except if you're interested in following along once this actually gets going, you can do so by subscribing to the channel, turning on your notification bell, or if you're on the other platforms, because I get up to 30 minutes on TikTok now, so my videos are just going to be posted. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll keep you guys updated on as videos come out and all of that. I just suggest you turn your notifications on because as of right now, I'm making weekly videos, but I don't know what's going to happen in the next little bit. The next little bit until I start school is actually pretty relaxed until about the start of August. I've got a couple things going on in August. I won't be vlogging them, but I do have a couple things going on in a couple weekends. So that's what's up, and thanks for joining me. Bye, everyone.